Hello and welcome to the Meet the Fearless Women of Minneapolis. Today we're talking with Katherine Norland. Hi, Katherine.
Hi, Jen. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm super excited to dive more into your talk at the Fearless Women Summit, which, by the way, is happening August 9th. It's coming up. We're in the countdown for this event right now. But I would love to have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I'm Katherine Norland. I grew up in a small little town in southern Minnesota, and I had dreams of becoming like an author and an actor, but that just seemed like way too far-fetched and impossible for me. And I struggled with low self-esteem. I battled that for a long time, and it really affected everything I do. And part of my talk is going to be, exploring how I got over that, how I was able to take that leap of faith into the dreams that I always had and become the things I never thought possible.
Wow. So, how did you go from being not that confident in yourself, being the small town girl,
Mhm.
to today being an author, an actress, a speaker? I mean, you do so many amazing things in your life. So, what did that transition look like for you?
Mhm. Um, well, I think it wasn't like an overnight thing. I really had to come to a point where I realized I wasn't seeing correctly. I wasn't seeing myself through the right lenses. I wasn't seeing myself in an empowered way or the way that God sees me, and I started to really get back to my roots of like what is for me, what does the scripture say about me being fearfully and wonderfully made? And if I feel like God doesn't make mistakes, then maybe I'm not a mistake. And all these flaws that I think I have, even if they're there, sometimes it's our perception, but even if the flaws are there, that cannot stop me. And anyone who's listening who thinks I have all these issues, all these faults, all these flaws, even that can't even stop you from the big, beautiful, powerful future God has for you if you just lean into, what are the assets that you do have. Let's forget about the areas where you don't measure up, because that's not really even needed for your purpose in life. Your purpose is going to fit right in your wheelhouse. So, part of it had to do with stop comparing myself to other people.
Yeah, I know. I was just on a call with a colleague of mine, and we were just talking about how in life we tend to play small, right? We tend to compare ourselves to others. We tend to compare ourselves negatively compared to others, or think that they know or do things that we either don't know or can't do. So I love that you bring this up, and definitely none of us are mistakes here. We are meant to be here. There is a purpose we can tap into. So as you explored what that purpose is for you, Katherine, how
Mhm.
were you able to discover that? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah. I feel like there's so many different ways you can discover what your purpose is, but there's going to be some like common themes. It's going to like align with sometimes what lights you up, and sometimes it's going to also align with what makes you angry. So if there's like a constant area where like, oh, I can't stand that this thing is always happening, sometimes that thing that makes us angry ends up being part of our purpose. Whether it's homeless vets or people being marginalized, or we don't like this certain thing of how people are treated, that ends up becoming our purpose. If we don't know, like maybe we go, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know where my giftings are. But most everybody knows what makes them mad. So sometimes that is the key to unlocking part of what your purpose is.
I don't think I've ever heard it described so well. So thank you for bringing that up. Like, yes,
Hmm.
there are the things that light us up, but then there are the things that we make us mad. And I've never heard anyone describe it quite that way.
Hmm.
That sometimes that's our access point, right? The things
Yeah.
that make us mad, the things that upset us, the things that
Hmm.
really agitate us, because it's probably something that matters to us. We
Yeah.
wouldn't get mad if it didn't matter.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's something to pay attention to and not brush under the rug. And we all have our gifts and talents that we use differently. I had a girlfriend that was sending me all kinds of angry texts recently because she was so upset about something happening in the government and different things, and she was like, how come you're not out there shouting? How come you're not talking about this on social media? How come you're not you know, she wanted me to be like this vocal voice piece for this certain topic that neither of us like that's happening, but that's not my thing. Like, I think some of us are called to quietly serve. Some of us are meant to mend the brokenhearted. Some of us are meant to go stand on a podium with a big loudspeaker. But you have to know what your thing is, and not everybody, even if you're passionate about the same things, not everybody's calling and purpose is going to look the same. I mean, if I bring it right back again to another biblical example, I think we're called the body, and the elbow can't get mad at the mouth. It's got different functions. The eye, can't be haughty and be like, I'm better than you, big toe. I mean, try walking around without that toe. Your balance isn't there. So we all have to work together in different parts, and none are better than others. And sometimes we go, oh, there's parts of us that are shameful. You got to keep them covered. And sometimes there's people in life where, like in my parents' day when they grew up, if there were like special needs people, they didn't bring them out in public. They kept them home. They kept them hidden away. And so it kind of seems like nowadays there's more special needs people, but I think some of it's like we're just celebrating them now. We're being okay with not everybody being exactly like another person. And the scripture that talks about the body, just because something is hidden away doesn't mean it's shameful. Sometimes that means it's more protected, it's more cherished. So we can't look at, back to the comparison thing, well, you're the ear, so you're better than me because I'm the knee, or whatever it is. So not comparing ourselves, realizing what your special gifting is, seeing yourself through the correct lenses in a way that empowers you, and not trying to be like everyone else. Because it's kind of like that saying, I don't remember the exact quote, but it goes something like, if a fish tries to spend its life upset that it can't fly, it's going to miss its own purpose. So we can't compare a fish to a bird. And I think we're all kind of like that.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there, Catherine. You've really explored so many themes with that. The staying hidden, right, versus being highly visible. It's one thing that I work with a lot with my speaker coaching clients is
Mhm.
they're afraid to be visible. Sometimes it's the first time they're on stage and sharing their message, or at least sharing it in the way that they are doing it for Fearless Women, or even
Mhm.
outside of Fearless Women on other stages. It can be a very vulnerable experience. It can be a
Yeah.
very validating experience at the same time, because that's when our stories have the power to change lives. Is we're sharing something that's important to us. There will be other people who it's also important to. That's why I started my company. Is I was sharing a story, and somebody in the audience who I very much respected and admired came up to me and said, because of you, I'm going to change my life. And so
Oh,
that's how the power of stages, right? I was like, oh my God,
yes.
like I had no idea she felt that way until she came up and said that to me. So same thing with you. If you're listening, you're like, well, I'm afraid to speak up. I'm afraid to show up. I'm afraid to have people see me the way I am. Maybe
Mhm.
feeling like you can express yourself authentically is a difficult thing. As
Yeah.
Catherine mentioned, we all have different parts to ourselves. So why can't you let those parts work together and showcase who you are and cooperate and just show up as you are? There are some, we won't always be liked, but that's not the purpose of it.
No, and there's people we're called to serve and to help and to give our gifts. And sometimes we go, oh, I don't want to show up because, oh, like I've gained some weight, or I'm not feeling like I'm as pretty or as I used to be, or I still haven't gotten off that COVID 40 I put on, or whatever it is. But the people that you're called to serve, they need your voice, they need your expertise, they need your help. And like, if you think about it, if you're out serving a homeless ministry or something, and you're bringing blankets out to people on a cold day, you're bringing them sandwiches, they're not going to go, oh, I'm not going to take a sandwich from you, fatty. You know, we get in our head thinking we can't do the things we want to do because sometimes of these external outward things which have nothing to do with it. It's, fear, it's self-sabotage, because sometimes there's some inner work we need to do on ourselves and our own worthiness. That's why I wrote the book You Are Worthy, and I will be speaking on a small portion from that book, because we have to stop sabotaging our dreams and building everyone else's and step into our calling with confidence. And you have to know who you are and that you're worthy and that you have something worth giving, and that it has nothing to do with any of the external things we measure by, whether it's having a degree or having a certain number of zeros in the bank or what we drive, or, we're the vehicle that we're going through this life in. We can't let that stop us from the big, beautiful call God has for us.
Oh, I like how you describe the big, beautiful call. Speaking about your talk is You Are Worthy, and I'm going to get the right title here. See yourself successful and unlock your potential. Now, you gave us a little sneak peek that it's one small portion of your book, and you're welcome to post your book link below so folks who are watching can benefit from learning more about you and the work that you put out in the world. But what would you like to share with us, without giving away the talk itself, around what you're going to be sharing on the Fearless Women stage?
Mm-hmm. Without giving away the talk. Well, I think there's a way that we've been seeing ourselves that is different than what really our true potential is. I don't think any of us are living at the height or the potential that we could, or as we're not doing as much as we have the potential to do. And I don't mean that in the sense of you got to work 20 hours a day and work your fingers to the bone and have nothing left. But I mean, like, being in your wheelhouse, doing those things that you love, taking the chances, when you have those little inklings like, oh, I should do. And then sometimes even before the thought is out, you're already telling yourself all the reasons why you can't do that. And I think that's something that we're not always aware of. We just think, like, a great example is, let's say we didn't do great in math class. And so something comes up and it's going to require some math skills or some spreadsheets. And we automatically, before we even try, go, oh, but I'm not good at math. I'm not. So we're already hampering ourselves from a certain opportunity when we don't know. It could be totally easy. We could learn it really fast. But because of these past stories and past experiences, we don't even allow ourselves to step into that opportunity. And speaking of fearless women, there was some statistic, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's always been a thing about how women have less pay in the workforce usually than men. But I don't necessarily think that's all because of sexism. Let me give you my theory on this. It's said that, and like I said, I don't remember the exact statistics, but that when women versus men apply for a job, men will apply for a job if they have maybe not even 80% of the credentials. But women will not apply for the job unless they 100% check all the boxes. Also, there's been statistics that show women are far less likely to ask for a raise than men. So if you think about that, we're not asking for as many raises, and we're not even applying for the jobs unless we're 100% qualified, where a lot of times men are that fearless by nature. Like, we need to learn how to become fearless women. We feel like we have to 100% qualify, and then we really wait till we feel like we really deserve it before we ask for a raise. And a guy will be like, you know what? It's been a year since I've had one. I'm gonna ask for another one. And sometimes it does have to do with the squeaky wheel getting the oil.
Speaking of things that make you angry, going back to how you identify your purpose, one of the things that makes me really angry is not people who don't want to show up, because that's a personal choice. And, speaking up can be a powerful thing. But the people who, when they speak up, they diminish their value by saying, oh, well, you may not enjoy this, or, oh, I'm not that good at this thing, just
Ooh,
before they're sharing something that's on their heart. That
yeah,
irritates the heck out of me because I'm like, why are you diminishing yourself before you've even
yeah,
started speaking? Give us the opportunity to hear you as you are without you trying to put yourself smaller and trying to diminish what your value is. And I think that ties into what you shared, Catherine, as well, with the negotiation. Like, women don't negotiate their salaries, women don't ask for higher amounts of money for the same position that men might be
mhm,
getting. And I know Barbara Stanny did a lot of work around women not asking for the higher wages or not applying for the jobs
mm,
because they don't see themselves in those jobs. And some of it has to do with culture, right? Like, there are certain
yeah,
women who are not in the C-suite, and if you don't see that role modeling there, maybe you feel like it's not accessible to you, especially women
mhm,
of color and things of that nature. So I get it. Like, sometimes you need to see that there's a culture that supports that. At the same time, you can
right,
still advocate for yourself and know that you are worthy, regardless of what
mhm,
that looks like, and that position and that career pinnacle that you're looking for. You are definitely worthy of that. So thank you
yeah,
for sharing some of those statistics, and again, some good resources there. Now, we're talking about the Fearless Women Summit. Now, you are one of 12 speakers, Catherine. I'm also taking the stage, of course, talking about public speaking. But one of the things that I've been asking all of my speakers on these interviews
mhm,
is, what does it mean for you to be fearless? Like, what does that term mean to you?
mhm. Well, with just off the top of my head, so I haven't really given it much thought, I think there's something fearless about not having shame, not having to explain yourself, not having to apologize, being you unapologetically without having to, like, oh, what are people gonna think? What are they gonna say? How should I, you become fearless, I think, when you stop considering everyone else's opinion around you. It's not fearlessness to me isn't just about I'm going to leap off that building or I'm going to go zip lining here. I'm not, you know, it's about being able to show up as who you truly are because there are so many masks we wear. There are so many ways we stay hidden that, like, even someone who's a life coach, I'm a life coach, and I've been guilty of not showing my whole self, like, when I have different things where I feel vulnerable because, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I'm the one people come to for advice. So if I let people know that I don't have all the answers or I need help or I can't figure out my own stuff, then maybe that makes me more um not as good or as qualified, which, is ridiculous. But I think we all have some little part of us that we go, gosh, if I showed me and showed up fully, then I might get judged or people won't like me or I have to hide this part, and of course, there are certain situations we can't necessarily lay everything all out on the table. But I think around those we trust and those we love, being fearless, there has to be a level of vulnerability that we're okay with showing all the parts of us.
Ooh, vulnerability. Kind of like Brene Brown and her popular talks around vulnerability, shame, things like that,
Mm.
of that nature.
Ah,
Are you willing to be vulnerable? I know for me, and for some of my clients as well, again, there are private parts of our lives. It doesn't mean you have to share all of it. It just
right.
means, are you willing to show up in a different way? And
Mhm.
so I appreciate that that's part of your definition of fearless, Catherine, because everyone I've spoken to has a slightly different variation of what it means to be fearless. And that's why I love gathering women in a room together, because we all bring different perspectives. We all bring different experiences, different, all of it, our culture, our programming, our upbringing, our religion, all of these different things. When we get in a room together, there are
Yeah.
certain things we still relate to and we have in common despite our different backgrounds. So thank you for sharing about what it means to be fearless for you. Now, I know that you're going to be offering something, quite a few things that we can engage with you further or learn more about you. But before the event, how can we
Okay.
connect with you?
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram, Katherine Norland, and also Facebook and YouTube. And I am on TikTok at Kat Norland. And I have more than probably close to 1,000 videos on my YouTube channel that's all meant to inspire and coach you to success, help you overcome your obstacles and reach your goals quicker, ones that help you with emotions and different things. So I have, yeah, hundreds of videos coaching you to success that you can access for free. And I want to offer you a gift. Free gift from coachkat.com has some videos out of my online course, You Are Worthy, which is an expanded version of my book that's really teaching you how to see yourself in the proper perspective so that nothing is impossible for you.
So generous with all of the gifts you have. A portion of your course, You Are Worthy, as well as make sure to connect with Kat. I was looking at your YouTube channel before and I was like, you are doing an amazing job with your video content out there. One of the things I'm always
Oh,
encouraging speakers to do is put yourself on video, put yourself on YouTube. Of
yeah.
course, you're on TikTok, but your
Mhm.
YouTube is huge. And I really appreciate the work you're putting out there because sometimes we need that quick, burst of inspiration. And I
Yeah.
think you're doing a good job of putting yourself out there and kind of paying it forward and giving back to people. Whether you're ready to work with you or not, you are putting
Yeah.
content out there that inspires
Mhm.
women to think differently about their lives. And I didn't ask, but you said you're a life coach. Do you work with just women or who do you tend to work with?
Um, I've worked with men and women. I typically work particularly with faith-based people. So if people are like of the Christian faith, that's really my wheelhouse. But in that realm, I kind of narrow it down to people who know that they were meant for more, but something is like stopping them. So really helping them get to the next level and see themselves. I have all different types of people. I have coached all different professions, all different levels in the world, from big time people to people who are like, they're like, well, I'm just a housewife. Can I still coach with you? So it's really those who know that they have a purpose and they're driven to that purpose, but there's something that's like blocking them. That's usually my specialty of helping them unlock what is keeping them stuck.
I love it. I love it. So if you are someone who is feeling stuck, feeling overwhelmed, Katherine and I humbly and warmly invite you to join us at the Fearless Women Summit in Minneapolis on August 9th. Tickets are still available. We have a buy one, get one promotion, and that's for all ticket types. So whether you want to join us for the day and do lunch on your own, or you want me to treat you with lunch, both ticket options are available to you. Bring a girlfriend, bring someone you know who maybe feels like they're not in a place right now that they want to be. Maybe they are suspecting that they're meant for more. And Katherine's story will certainly inspire you to come up with your own definition and variation of what fearless means to you. But I highly encourage you to check out the event. Look below this video for the link to join us and get your tickets. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, Katherine? It's been an amazing time getting to know you, but any final words you'd like to leave us with today?
I feel like if you put yourself out there in a way that is meaningful to you, reaching out to the people you feel meant to touch and help and inspire, that you will never regret that. Even if you say you put out a book or you try to start a business, even if those things don't go well, you are going to be so glad you did. Because when we get to the end of our life, we aren't really thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that thing. We're really thinking of all the things we wished we would have had the courage to do. So if you have a dream in your heart, I would say go at it full force, full speed ahead, and don't let the naysayers or anybody stop you and tell you all the people who have failed, all the reasons why it might not work out. Because you letting that voice stop you, that's going to be something that you regret later in life. And I know so many people who've like, I had this like dream and I should have done this thing, but now, maybe it's to go out for a dance company and be a ballerina. Well, now they're 60 and that door has closed. So when you get that inkling, when you get that idea, trust that voice inside you. Trust that is something you need to go after and explore, even if it's scary, even if you don't know what to do, even if you don't know anybody in that field, even if you don't have the answers, to go for it. Because each step will be revealed to you as it goes. The scripture says God is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. He's not lighting up the whole tunnel, right? He's letting you know the next step and the next step, but it's a walk of faith. So it's up to you to take the first step, and then he'll show you the next step. When you get in your car to go somewhere, you don't wait to go somewhere till all the lights are green, but sometimes we do that with our dreams. So realize there's going to be starts and stops, and there's going to be detours. That doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. It just means that's life.
Beautifully said. You have a way with words, Katherine. I can understand why you are so good at video content, at sharing these stories and these messages. We won't have any naysayers in the room at Fearless Women. It's
Yay.
all about encouragement and support. We're going to have people who are like, yes, girl, you can do this. Yes, I want to be there with you. Yes, there will be support provided in the room for you. If you're like, well, I'm kind of scared about this thing, or I'm not quite sure about this thing, I guarantee you'll be surrounded by women who understand, who are maybe on a similar journey to you and want to support you for whatever that next step looks like. So your next step, should you be brave enough to take the step, is to get a ticket to the event. Feel free to connect with Katherine. She's an amazing person and an amazing resource. Connect with her on social media. Let her know if you have any questions, or say hi to both of us if you're definitely joining us at the event. But thank you so much for this interview today, Katherine. I can't wait to see you on the Fearless Women stage.
Thank you, Jen. I'm so excited.
All right. We'll see you there. Take care.
Bye.